Hey everybody, welcome back to Bible Fun with the Duns. Today we're in Mark chapter 8, so let's get started.
All right, so I'm preaching on Mark chapter 8 on Sunday, and I'll be talking about Peter's confession at Caesarea, and I'll be talking about the man who was healed by Jesus basically spitting in his eyes. And so it's an odd moment, and we're going to get to it. But I do want to start out by saying Mark chapter 8 is the midpoint of the book of Mark. So Mark's got 16 chapters. In chapter number 8, you have to understand this moment where Peter makes this confession that Jesus is the Christ, He is the Son of God. That is a massive moment. And so, after everything these disciples have seen, after all they've learned, after all they've witnessed, this is like the midpoint. This is the midterm exam to see what everybody's been doing, to see what they've learned, to see if they've been paying attention. This is the midpoint exam. And from here, things really start heating up because we're headed quickly to the cross.
All right. So Jeb actually kind of read ahead on Sunday, and he was just looking through the book of Mark, and it said Jesus fed the 4,000. He's like, hold up, I thought he fed the 5,000. And what did you learn about that, Jibby?
So I asked her, and then she explained that Jesus did miracles twice. He would do them for the Jews and for the Gentiles. Okay.
Which means what? Do you remember? The people who are not Jewish are called Gentiles.
We are Gentiles.
So everybody else.
Yeah.
And so
we just had a big soccer game, and when I say we, Jeb had a soccer game, and so we're very hungry. And we read and talked about Mark 8 on the whole way home.
That's right.
And so Jesus is showing them that even though the Jews are His chosen people, those aren't the only ones He cares about. He loves and cares for every human being.
That's right. And we're pretty thankful for that, as we're not Jewish.
That's right.
John, what about you?
Okay, hold on. Let me pull up the verse real quick.
Okay.
So, my takeaway, it came from the very last verse of this chapter. And it says, "For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, the Son of Man will also be ashamed of him when He comes to the glory of His Father with the holy angels." So, I feel like people, especially in like my age and Jax's age, we should really be mindful of this verse because one of the things that makes it most difficult to worship God is just that we're sometimes like embarrassed to like sing or to pray in front of people. But thing is, God isn't something to just be embarrassed of. And yeah.
He wants us to be bold. He wants us to be proud and proclaim Him, and He will too. And we sure don't want Him to act ashamed of us the way we might would. And so that's a good verse too. So we were talking about this, and I was like, okay, everybody has a takeaway, whatever. We're talking about that, and I'm like, I don't know what my takeaway is. And they said, Mom, you talked about it the whole way home from Tatum.
It was a solid 20-minute drive home.
But I don't know about you, and they agreed. We are loving the book of Mark. The book of Mark is not even my favorite.
It's because you just read Leviticus.
And it is a breath of fresh air. But, and honestly, I think Leviticus set us up perfectly.
Absolutely.
To start Mark. Mark is not even my favorite gospel, but I am loving it this time. And so what I want us to kind of not miss as we read through the book of Mark, the first 7 chapters, what we see is the introduction of Jesus. And we see it through all the gospels, obviously. But what every single person has to do is when they meet Jesus and they figure out who He is, they have to decide what they're going to do with that, what they're going to believe. Am I going to believe this man is who He says He is, that He is the Son of God? These people in Mark's time, they're seeing the healings and the miracles and the signs and the wonders. And I think it's amazing they still have to decide whether they believe or not. Miracles are not the things that change our hearts. It's faith in God that changes our hearts. That's what draws us to Him. And so they have to decide, do I believe that He is who He says He is or not? And so we see that clearly in the first 7 chapters. We see in the book of Mark, Jesus picks up His disciples in chapter 1. They've been walking with Him this whole time. And something that's interesting to me is Jesus has a public ministry, but He also, that doesn't stop necessarily. He doesn't stop being who He is in the privacy of, time with maybe the 12 apostles, time with maybe his closest best friends, Peter, James, and John. And so it's kind of like one time when Dustin and I had a magician come. He was like a Jesus evangelical magician, we'll call him. And he did all these shows. He did it for the youth. He did it from the pulpit that morning. And we took him to lunch that Sunday after that. And we're just hanging out and talking, and we're just treating him like a regular person.
Yeah.
And as we're sitting there, let me hold your spoon real quick. He was just doing, we're having a normal conversation, and he never stopped doing tricks. He held a spoon like this and it folded in half. I mean, just all kinds of different things. And I thought it was cool because we were the only ones that got to witness that and see that. And I kind of think of what the disciples are going through as they're walking with Jesus. They are seeing his very public ministry that everyone is getting to see. But at the same time, they see, oh, this man is the real deal. He is who he says he is in the privacy of his own time. Who knows what other miracles and signs and wonders they saw. But here they are in chapter 8, and they're seeing these things, but you kind of see them kind of step back and think, hold on, this guy, he is something special. Like, what do we do with all this information about who he is? And they're having to decide what to do with Jesus themselves. And they've already committed to following him. They've left their home, they've left their families, they've left their jobs, they've committed to following him. But they're just having a faith journey that I think all of us have. It's kind of like how I tell my small group frequently, like, I have banked my whole eternity that what the Bible says is true, that who Jesus says he is. But at the same time, when I see God do these miracles and signs and wonders and answer prayer and answer the very question that I had for him that morning through his word that I read 2 minutes later, when I see God do things like that, even though I've banked my whole eternity on him, I have a moment where I'm like, this is real. He really is the Son of God, and I believe that. But faith is a lifelong journey where he continues to pursue us, draw us, reveal himself to us, and we will constantly be deciding, what do we do with this Jesus? And so we see the disciples do this, and Jesus is continuing to teach them as they have questions. He's saying, hey, do not let all the doubters around, do not let the leaven of the Pharisees, what the Pharisees are saying about me, don't let that harden your hearts. And we see this lesson through what Jesus teaches about the bread, through Jesus continuing to prove himself, all the way up to the point where we have the first human proclaim. We've seen demons say it, and Jesus says, shh, don't tell who I am. We've seen that so far, but then we see Peter say, you are the Son of the living God. And so the disciples also have to make this decision about who Jesus is. And I feel like at salvation we make this decision, but even day to day we make that decision, like, am I going to live this day as if I believe that Jesus is who he says he is, and that I follow this person. So honestly, I could take the whole 20 minutes like I did on the way home, but they're all looking at me like, let's wrap it up. So I guess if you want to hang out and talk with me, I'll talk to you about Mark at our own time. I love Starbucks. We can meet there. But anyway, we'll see you guys tomorrow for Mark chapter 9.
Bye.
Bye.